Congratulations! You are at the right place at the right time to start your day with a lightning bolt of energy. If you're here, it's because morning talk shows and even most podcasts have you down in the dumps, depleted and yearning for more. I want more money. I want more time. I want more magic. I want to be told what to do. I want to find what works. I want to scale my business. I want to be provided with actionable inspiration. And if more is what you want, then get ready for the Unblinded Huddle, which is the #1 way to start your day with a dose of integrity-based human influence. With your hosts, Sean Callaghy, Fernando Valencia, Adam Gugino, Jared Yellen, and the entire Unblinded movement.
Hey, good morning, guys. How we doing out there? Fernando, what is present for you, sir?
What is present for me, Sean, it is the gravitational energy that is being created by our movement ever since our mastery role play last night. I've gotten messages from Kate and Erica and many others that are connecting some really beautiful people and leveraging this amazing structure that we've created here. So I'm super grateful for everyone listening, whether you're here live or listening on social media channels. Thank you for your commitment to mastery, and thank you for your commitment to Unblinded. How about you, Sean? What's present for you?
What's present for me is we just had some beautiful shares and contributions and chats on the Unblinded Sales Mastery pre-huddle with Kelly and Dimple and Ron and Jay and just feel, and other amazing, Cindy, phenomenal people. And I am so grateful for where we're going. What we're talking about this morning was that there was at one time, there was this idea for swampland in Florida. And it was like swampland that was sitting there, and this crazy person had this idea of creating something that people thought originally was like an amusement park, or like a little carnival area. And that became one of the greatest brands in the history of the world. But not just a brand, it was a heroic, unique identity, a place that people, even the most cynical, sarcastic, negative vibrational humans go to find magic. But what if we could find that magic in our everyday life? What if our home could be like Disney World? What if our businesses, our interactions, our ecosystem merger, what if the functioning of all things outside of a magical, incredible dream of Walt Disney, what if the world could be like that? And like, what if? And that is what Unblinded actually stands for. It stands for that concept, not just about sales. The word sales will eventually drop out of this language, eventually. It's here now, as we just talked about this on the pre-huddle. We talked about it because we need markers to identify language and people and things, right? We need those things. So people think money, time, magic, sales, acceleration, and that's truly incredible. And then there's the world of personal development on the other side. And the world of personal development has extraordinary limitations as it currently stands, because it's a beautiful place in an unbelievably phenomenal space of the type of dream that we're talking about. Like John Lennon sings the song Imagine. And Imagine is a song I used to love. I don't love it the same way anymore because there's no practical reality to it. Because fundamentally, as human beings, the song talks about a world where there's like no problems and no work, and we just all live like hang out in peace. And they tried that in like 1969, The Summer of Love, and Haight-Ashbury in like a week became a place where people were on drugs, stealing from each other, and being wildly out of integrity. There's something, though, that is like rooted there that's true. But my Imagine, and the Imagine of Unblinded, our Imagine, is a place where like there's capitalism, and people work, and people have pride, and people could distinguish themselves uniquely through the development of their skill sets. And they have the ability to communicate and go from hello to yes with integrity with other people, to feel great about themselves, elevate others, and work in a space of acceleration the way that we're created to accelerate and work. And by the way, for those that are observing, happy Good Friday. This is an incredibly important day to many, including myself. So it's from that space, Fernando, that we begin today, and that is what is present for me. How does that land on you, brother? In 2 sentences, your response.
It lands very well on me. Thank you for acknowledging everyone observing, and I am grateful to jump in as we have a couple legends. And I don't say legends because it's a cool word. I say it because it's true. So I'm looking forward to introducing them. Anything else you want to add before we kick it off?
Straight up legends. Straight up legends. I couldn't be more honored. Could not be more honored. This is incredible what's happening here. And yes, let's.
All right. So we're going to start off first with the Les Brown. He is one of the world's most renowned motivational speakers. He is his dynamic personality and his highly sought after resource in business and professional circles for Fortune 500 CEOs. For 3 decades, he has not only studied the science of achievement, he's mastered it by interviewing hundreds of successful business leaders and collaborating with them in the boardroom, translating theory into bottom line results for his clients. Oh, and by the way, he just finished co-authoring what is already an Amazon bestseller titled You've Got to Be Hungry. So that is the Les Brown. Super honored to have your legacy here, brother.
Mr. Les Brown, how are you, sir?
Les, you could, if you take yourself off mute, you could speak. There you go.
Oh,
Mr. Les Brown, how are you?
I'm trying to take us off mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. You're off mute.
I'm off mute now?
Yes, sir. It's Sean Calgie here. How are you, Mr. Les Brown?
I'm great, and so are you. It's always a treat when great people meet.
Well, it's a pleasure. And just for transparency, this is the first beautiful opportunity we've had to converse. I've had the blessing of talking to your wonderful daughter, and I'll share this. When I got moving in the world, and that acceleration really began for me in the business world in 1997, one of the earliest books that I read was a book called Success Secrets of the Motivational Superstars. The Motivational Superstars. And the 2 people whose stories jumped out at me and influenced me the most were Tony Robbins and Les Brown. So you were featured in there prominently, and I was like, this is incredible. And so it is an honor to have you on our Unblinded Morning Huddle. So thanks so much for being here, Les.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be on here with you. Your reputation precedes you, and I'm very excited about serving you, sir.
Oh, and me serving you. So can I ask this? You have such an intentional way about you, like, and you're an icon. Like, what was it that originally brought you? Because what we do here, Les, is we're here to teach and share, inspire for sure, but also teach and share. So how did you get? So many people would love to be in this business of inspiring people and supporting people and helping them. How did you get into this business in the first place?
I admired my high school teacher at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami. I was born in Miami, Florida, a poor section called Liberty City, an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother. And when we were 6 weeks of age, we were foster kids, and then we were adopted. And when I was in the 5th grade, I was labeled educable, mentally retarded, and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. And I failed again when I was in the 8th grade. But I had this high school teacher, Mr. Leroy Washington. I went in his class looking for another student. And he said, young man, go to the front of the room. I want you to work on this problem for me. I said, I can't, sir. And he said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. He said, do it anyhow. I said, I can't. And the other students started laughing, saying, he's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley's smart. He's DT. And he asked, what's DT? And they said, he's the dumb twin. And I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk and he looked at me and he said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And he interrupted the story that I believe about myself. How people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. And on that day, that was a day, as Jim Rohn would say, that turned my life around.
I have an overwhelming sense of empathy for that moment and inspiration for your communication and for your heart and your mission. Like, you are truly unbelievable. What happened, and we'll get more into this, we're going to be on later today, on the Real Raw, we'll have even more time together. But what was it from there? Like after, when did you give your first talk to other people, and how did that all come about?
Well, I heard you talking about Walt Disney. and so I've always admired Walt Disney, being from Florida. And one of the things we can call Walt Disney is the comeback kid. He filed bankruptcy 7 times and had 2 nervous breakdowns, but he did not. And he was a speech and drama instructor. And he asked me to present one day, and I stood up and my mind sat down. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Continue until you are great. And so I continued because I wanted to be like him. And he had great oratorical skills. I've never known my birth parents or mother or father, but I wanted so much to be like him, because he said, in order to make it in life, you have to, 1, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. You have to transform your mind. 2, you have to surround yourself with OQP, only quality people. And 3, you must develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are.
This is, Fernando, are you feeling the emotional and energetic transference, the congruence from Mr. Brown? Are you feeling this, Fernando?
I'm gravitationally pulled and even more curious about who you are in the world.
Yeah. Extraordinary, extraordinary. So Les, what, as you look back, is there any moment that stands out for you that warmed your heart and was just unique of all these millions of people that you've touched all around the world? Was there any moment that was your personal favorite that just resonated the most, was the most magical, or truly stood out for you?
Yes, when I spoke in the Georgia Dome, it's on YouTube, Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome, and the speech is called "It's Not Over Until You Win." And when I was driven there, I thought I was going to be speaking to around 500 to 700 people in a banquet room. And when I was going down the hall and they took me to what is called the green room, a guy asked me, he said, what is it like to speak to over 80,000 people? I said, I don't know. I'm just here to speak in a banquet room here. And he said, are you Les Brown? I said, yes. He said, come out here. Let me show you something. And he took me, positioned me so I could look out and see the people in the Georgia Dome. He said, that's who you're speaking to. I said, oh my God. So I took off running down the hall to the bathroom.
Unbelievable.
And they started calling me, said, look, they were knocking on the door. You got to come out now, because I was in there for a moment talking to myself, saying, oh my God, I need to hear the voices. And they said, call his mentor, Mike Williams. And Mike Williams, he wrote the book called The Road to Your Best Stuff. And I wrote the forward for that. And he came and knocked on the door. He said, Brownie, come out, they're stalling, waiting for you. I said, Mike, there are 80,000 people out there. And he said, you're afraid, aren't you? And I said, yes. He said, what? I said, I can't hear the voices. He said, Brownie, they came to see you. You didn't come to see them.
Mm.
And then he paused and said, make your mother proud. She would be so proud to hear that you went out on that stage and you commanded that audience. I said, Mike, don't use my mama on me, please. So I came out and they started walking me toward the stage in the back, and I stopped and I asked them all to pray for me. And so I kneeled so they could put their hands on my head. I don't know what that was going to do. And then when I want to share this with you. This is a very important point I'm going to make. When I went to the top of the steps, I was still nervous, but he looked at me, and this is very important. He said, Brownie, you got this. And here's what that meant to me, that sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. And when he said, "You got this," I felt it in my heart. And I turned, they gave me the mic, and I stepped out there. I don't remember the experience, but I did it.
We'll have to watch that. Let's all watch that on YouTube. But this is true. And so you were, did I hear you correctly? You said that you were diagnosed with the word retarded?
Educable, mentally retarded, and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. And I failed again when I was in the 8th grade.
And so you went from there, not knowing.
Yeah, I was in special education all the way through my junior year. I mean, my senior year, I graduated in special education. But the turnaround for me was my junior year when I met Mr. Washington, who had a similar personality like you. His mindset was, look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse. But look at him as if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. So he never saw me like other people saw me, and I wanted to be around him.
My goodness. So for everybody out there, and we're going to pause with Les for a second and introduce our other remarkable, legendary guest and come back to Les in a moment. You're talking about, just think of what you would limit yourself with because of the stories you're telling about yourself, who you are as a speaker, who you are as a communicator, who you are as an influencer, and sitting here going, I could never communicate and influence and go from hello to yes like Mr. Les Brown or Sean. Like, it just, this is not possible. This gentleman, this icon, legendary speaker, one of the most legendary, iconic speakers in the history of the world, was diagnosed as mentally retarded as a child, and all throughout his educational dynamics. And look at where he is now. Like, he is the most congruent, fluid communicator we've ever had on here. And we've had wildly successful people, but there's no question that he is the most fluid communicator we've had, which makes him, Fernando, incredibly dangerous in the real raws and the influence offs going forward if Mr. Les Brown will continue after he is advancing and winning, because he's remarkable. So that's where we are. Like, think of what's possible for you if this is where this incredible icon started. Fernando, who's our other legend for today? Mr. Brown, please hold for 1 minute. We'll come back to you in a sec. Who we got?
Yes, we have Fab Mancini, and just like to share this one quote that encapsulates kind of how I'm feeling with what Les just shared, that helping one person might not change the world, but it could change the world for one person. So thank you for your humility, Mr. Brown. And as we jump in, yes, sir. As we jump into Dr. Fab Mancini, he is America's #1 healthy living media expert and a world-renowned chiropractor. He is Hay House International bestseller author of The Power of Self-Healing and the host of his popular radio show, Self-Healing with Dr. Fab. He is also best-selling author of Chicken Soup for the Chiropractic Soul and an internationally acclaimed educator, business leader, speaker, and president emeritus of Parker University. He has been featured on Dr. Phil, The Doctors, Fox, CNN, CBS, ABC, and the list goes on and on and on. He has been voted Humanitarian of the Year, CEO of the Year, and induction into the Wellness Revolutionaries Hall of Fame. Friends, family, live ecosystem, Dr. Fab Mancini.
Dr.
Fernando
Fab,
and Sean, what a pleasure. What a pleasure to be with you guys.
Yes, sir.
Listen, extraordinary. The honor is ours. Like, where did this all start? Like, just another legendary person. How did you begin this acceleration?
Well, first of all, I want to say a beautiful good morning to my friend also and my dear brother, Les Brown. I would tell you, Sean, for me, when I was 13 years old, my parents decided that we were going to go from a city named Barranquilla, Colombia, to Miami, Florida, 5 boys. And they said, you're going to go into the United States. And my dad at that time was struggling with alcoholism. And we decided to move to Miami. And in Miami, my first day of school, they tell me that they're putting me back 2 years because there was no English as a second language in this country at that time. And I had to learn and be disciplined. There was only one little girl in my class named Maria Verdeja. I never forget. She sat with me 2 hours after every class, daily, translating what the teacher said so I could at least pass that grade. And I was able to, with a lot of discipline, One thing I learned is that it's not about being smart. The best students are not the smart students or the disciplined students. And because I learned to be disciplined in being a good student, I ended up graduating top of my class with 100.7 average and in 1 year of college. And it's really something I wasn't expecting, but it's something that set the foundation for me to realize that it's not the circumstances that define a man, but how you respond to them. And that's been the foundation to my life.
Extraordinary. And so Dr. Fab, what drove you then and now? Like why? We always talk about why. What's your why? Your legacy? Like where's this all going? Why are you doing all these extraordinary things throughout your entire life, including to today?
That's a very good question. And I have a few whys, but the one that really set me off was when I was 16 years old. I was involved in a robbery in Colombia. I went to visit after 3 years of being in the United States, and 10 people came into the house, robbed the house. They hit me. They thought I knew where the safe was. They broke my brother's head, and we ended up in the hospital that night. By a blessing, the neighbors saw the commotion, called the police, and we were saved. But that night at the hospital, I realized that at 16 years old, my life could have been over. And I made a conscious decision that I would live my life like if it was my last day. And ever since then, I go to bed every night being grateful that I have one more day to contribute, but not expecting to get up the next morning. And then when I get up the next morning, if I'm blessed enough to be awake and be alive, I don't take that day for granted. So my why is a sense of urgency. It's a sense of understanding that our value comes from our contributions and value to other people, nothing more. So every day I wake up and I realize, what are the biggest problems out there? What are the biggest challenges that people are going through? For me, that became a passion of the health of humanity. And of course, when I define health, like I wrote in my book, The Power of Self-Healing, it's not just your physical health, but your emotional health and your spiritual health. And when you combine all of those three, now you can fulfill your human potential.
The energy, the positive vibrational energy that's coming off of you, Dr. Fab, and of course, as well as Mr. Les Brown, is extraordinary. Like it's palpable and it's extraordinary. You just feel in a presence of that energy. Thank you. And if I could just level one listen for a second, and people know what level one listening means. It's bringing something back to me, but it's really for a share and a challenge for everybody. The fifth scroll that Og Mandino talks about is I will live, to repeat as an affirmation daily, is I will live this day as if it is my last. And I had the blessing and privilege of saying that for a number of years now, in the morning and at night. I will live this day as if it is my last. And that's what Dr. Fab's talking about, that has driven him, that he discovered on his own as a 16-year-old to this day, with that beautiful sense of loving urgency on a daily basis. So Dr. Fab, if I could just ask this, I'm so humbled and honored by, you guys being here today. What was it that made you say yes to coming on Unblinded this morning?
Well, first of all, Sean, like Les said, your reputation precedes you. And I have heard about you from different people. And my dear friend Jared had mentioned to me about this mission of yours. And like Les and I, we have that in common, is that we will always support those that are contributing to the lives of others at high levels. We cannot ever do everything by ourselves. We have to support others. We have to ask for others to support us. And once you learn that, you realize that this world is a world of collaboration. It's not a world of competition. We collaborate with each other for the sake of something greater. Like my mentor, Dr. James W. Parker, taught me many years ago, you have to have a mission that's bigger than yourself in order for you to achieve greatness. So I'm here because I know your mission is aligned with my mission, and together we can reach a lot more people.
Extraordinary. And so, and Dr. Fab, that is, I'm pretty good at receiving, but that's a lot to receive, and I receive it, and I'm grateful and overwhelmed, truly. And if you had one actionable for the folks today, as we begin to round this incredible morning down, if you had one actionable item for people to tell them if they never heard from you again, you never encountered any of these fine folks again, what would that actionable item be? What's your advice for them?
You know, it makes me think about one of the questions you asked Les Brown, and what was a time in your life where something changed? And I remember when I wanted to be a doctor, and my parents had paid for my education up to that point, and then my father made some bad investments, and we had no money. All of a sudden, my mom and my dad told me they couldn't pay for me to go to graduate school to become a doctor. And I looked, they asked me to come home and stay with them for a couple of years while my dad recovered financially. And at that time, I looked at all my worldly possessions, which, as you know, there's not much, but I have one thing, a brand new car that they gave me for graduation. And I spent 2 weeks trying to sell that car in order to pay for my tuition my first semester. Finally sold it for half the price that it was worth, because, you know, the best time to sell is when you need to sell. Whenever you need to sell something, they can smell you a mile away. But I sold that car. I paid for that tuition. My roommate's father was so impressed by what I did that he paid for the apartment. And I'm telling you, the lesson that I will leave you with is invest in yourself. That little car has turned into millions and millions of dollars and the ability to serve millions of people. So when you invest in yourself, you give permission for others to invest in you. So invest in yourself as much as you can, especially during this downtime, and you'll be surprised how the world will invest in you.
Dr. Fab, extraordinary. Looking forward to connecting even more deeply this afternoon at 3 o'clock, if that still works for you. Are we on? Does that work for you?
Yes, of course. I'm excited.
I can't wait. Can't wait for the real raw. And so thank you, Dr. Fab. And Mr. Les Brown, sir, how about yourself? Actionable items for these people from the iconic and legendary Les Brown. What would that be, sir?
First of all, I'm surprised that you have on one of my closest friends. We talk every week. I'm just blown away.
I'm the good-looking brother.
Yeah,
Les, we here at Unblinded, we have some fun and pull out some surprises. So we have some fun.
Yes. What Harsman said, we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. And I encourage the people that are listening now to live a life that will outlive you. I'm here because of two women. One gave me life, the other one gave me love. God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. And she lived a life that I admired. She wanted to make a difference. She wanted to make an impact. Abraham Lincoln said, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. And so I have learned the value of giving, as Dr. Fab has. And when you give, when you have your mind set on living a life that will outlive you, I believe that we can impact generations yet unborn.
Drop the mic. Les Brown, Dr. Fab, in honor and respect of these icons, there is nothing more to add. Happy Good Friday to you, if you're observing. Happy Fun Friday, if you're not. Happy Easter, if you are, and happy weekend, if you're not. And join us at 3 o'clock today for more with these legendary people, as they have so beautifully and graciously offered to come on to The Real Raw and share incredible distinctions in HelloDS and integrity-based communication. On behalf of our entire Unblinded team, Fernando, Jared, everyone, thank you. And Fernando, you are a beautiful source for this incredible relationship with the iconic Les Brown. Thank you, Fernando. Beautiful job and contribution to Unblinded. Jared, all the great work you've done in creating this as well. Thank you to everybody, and have a beautiful day. See you at 3 o'clock.
So now is the time you take action. What is the one thing you will do today that will help you make more money in less time and with more magic? All you need to do is take one action right now, and then head over to our private Facebook community at www.unblindedmovement.com to share your big win for the day. If you share today's win and any questions you may have for us, along with a 5-star review, so we can reach more like-minded people like yourselves, your questions will be answered and maybe even your win will be live on the podcast. And if you have not already subscribed, please visit www.unblindedhuddle.com to be part of our live studio audience for each morning huddle so that we can help you see what you don't see about the fun, excitement, and magic of exponentially growing your sales.